Mistakes. We all make them. Some of us only ever build one type of deck. Some of us miss lethal on the Pro Tour.
That cost the game!
And some of us spend prolonged time on Jeffrey Epstein's island.
It was definitely the wrong thing to do.
But we won't delve into those sort of mistakes here. These are the 5 biggest mistakes that I see in deck building. But before we jump in, I have one honourable mention. Not playing green. Yes, really. Why is this a mistake though? Well, I mean, green literally just does everything. Ramp, best in class. Removal, incredible for non-creatures, and pretty decent for creatures as well, if you've got some big dudes lying around. Card draw, monumental, as long as it's creature related. Green is to casual commander what Mighty Mouse was to the flyweight division. But obviously it just gets dull to build one colour all the time. The biggest mistake that I see in nearly every deck is the land count. No joke, a few weeks back I saw some guy running 26 lands and complaining about flooding out. Like, brother, it is a miracle you didn't mulligan to 4. For the most part, I find out how many lands people are running because they miss an early land drop. I always make a point to ask, and it's usually around 35. Why? Well, lands are boring and I need space for cool things, and ramp is pretty much lands and so is draw. Okay, let's actually break it down. Why is it bad to cut lands for cool cards? There are 2 main reasons really. First is that a low land count will increase the number of non-games that you have. How many games have you seen someone lose because they just cannot hit their land drops? Second is mulliganing. Math's a bit boring, so I'll be brief. Let's say that your deck has 10 essential enablers in. You have a 54% chance to see one in any given 7-card hand. Not bad. You're far more likely to see one than not across your first 2 hands. But there is always a boogeyman looming over any game plan. You actually have to be able to cast your spells. Whoa, that was a lot to process. I appreciate this is somewhat of a hot take, but all those cool cards that you've been jamming your deck with do absolutely nothing if you don't have the mana to cast them. So how can we fix this? MDFCs. Their lands and spells flooding out, just cast the front side. Boom, sorted. Now personally, I start off every deck with 40 lands and sort of tweak from there.
Oh my god, what is that?
I don't know about you, but I like playing Magic. The second quickest route to playing 0 Magic is to have no lands. The quickest is spending time with women. That is why I play so much Magic.
All around me are familiar faces.
It's the lands, I promise. Having a high land count simply ensures that your deck can do its thing as often as possible. An oft-repeated adage is that a good game of Commander is one where everyone gets to do their thing. Another major problem I see with a lot of decks is that doing your thing ends the game. If that's true for every deck, then only one person will get to do their thing each game. But you're a degenerate combo player. You're the problem, you hypocrite. I will actually touch on this though. A plus B combo decks 100% fall into this category. It's quite literally the embodiment of doing your thing ends the game. Oh, Drew Thoracle Consultation again. GG's, on to the next.
Bruh.
That is why I don't find these sorts of decks super interesting. But Storm...
Oh, that's hot. That's hot.
What's the difference though? With Storm, doing your thing is just storming off. The winning is a separate matter altogether. You can have a blast doing your thing, and then still hit your fail rate, or get interrupted. Regardless of your archetype though, when doing your thing is directly linked to winning, then people are forced to stop you. Otherwise, they can't do their thing, obviously. This can often lead to games where the only satisfactory outcome is winning. Anything less, and your deck didn't work. How can we fix this then? Simply separate the core engines of your deck from your win conditions. I've recently built a control deck around Kirol, and it might actually be my favourite deck to play right now. I think the main reason for that is that the core engine, flickering, isn't really the win con at all. Like, yeah, I have a couple dudes that can do damage on ETB, but if your goal is not to lose, then you're far more likely to take out the Fear of Burning Alive, not the astral slide, as there are more ways to flicker. As such, regardless if I'm winning, I'm still just having a blast with the deck. Since a lot of decks are built in this way, where doing your thing wins the game, then you need interaction. I've already made a full video on interaction, which you should watch after this one. The topic certainly has some nuance, but I've actually devised one simple formula. However much interaction you're running currently, you need more. Okay, jokes aside, very few decks that I see are actually running an appropriate amount of interaction. Simply put, the faster your deck is, the less interaction you're going to need, but every EDH deck is just mid-range anyway, so you're probably not fast enough to get away with low interaction.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
Generally, I like more interactive games overall. As such, I play quite a high level of interaction compared to my deck speed. A big reason I can get away with this is modal cards, or any card that has multiple effects. MDFCs are great, as mentioned previously. You just don't want to be that guy who's constantly whining about hate pieces. I promise you, there are solutions. Right, this next one is a bit weird. It's running cards which seem like they're on brand. The easiest example I have to explain this is Gavi, Nest Warden. Don't get me wrong, I love a bit of cycling, but the payoffs here are just all over the place. You've got small tokens, scrying, big tokens, pinging, life gain, flickering, counters, pump, removal, mana. You get the point. The only thing tying these disparate payoffs together is drawing and discarding. Perfect for a cycling deck, right? That's all you do after all. Well, the issue here is that you just have such a scattered game plan. You're tying yourself in knots because none of it actually works together. Instead, it's essential to focus your game plan, making sure that your enablers are consistent, but so are your payoffs. This way, when your enablers and payoffs are aligned into one cohesive unit, your deck just feels super smooth. One of the best ways to make sure that your deck runs smoothly is to ensure that you have a game plan without your commander. So many decks that I see simply do not function at all without that crutch. It leads to games that feel super all or nothing, especially when everyone knows what your weakness is. Commanders will generally have a target on the head anyway. That is what we build our decks around after all. So do you really want to open yourselves up further to that already existing weakness? I generally make sure that my commander complements my existing game plan rather than absorbing it entirely. It's obviously a bit easier to do with some commanders rather than others, but regardless of who I'm playing, I just make sure that there's other engines going on in the deck at the same time. This makes your deck feel so much more resilient, it's actually crazy. I recently made a whole video on the topic, so if you want more of a deep dive, check it out right here.
Do it.